The underground tunnels were silent except for the hum of the machines. Ethan Cole, a human engineer, walked along the narrow mining path, checking the glowing blue markers on the wall. The air was heavy with dust, and every breath felt like swallowing sand. Far above, the surface world was warm and bright, but down here, it was always cold and dark. Ethan had been sent to check a faulty power line deep in the alien mining sector. The alien workers, tall, silver-skinned creatures with wide black eyes, barely looked at him as he passed. They didn't like humans in this part of the mine. But Ethan was good at fixing problems no one else wanted. He moved carefully, boots crunching on loose gravel. The tunnel stretched ahead like the throat of some giant beast. Then it happened. At first, it was only a faint vibration under his feet. A low rumble, far away. He paused, listening. The sound grew louder. The ground began to shake. Rock dust fell from the ceiling, floating in the dim light like gray snow. Quake, he whispered to himself. The walls groaned. A terrible deep sound like the planet was in pain. A shockwave hit him, throwing him against the wall. Lights flickered and died. A deafening crash echoed through the tunnels as part of the ceiling collapsed behind him. Blocking the way back, Ethan coughed, struggling to breathe in the thick dust. He fumbled for his cum, but it was dead. The quake must have killed the signal. He switched on the small emergency lamp on his belt. A weak yellow circle of light pushed back the darkness just enough to see the rubble. Huge slabs of rock had fallen, sealing the path completely. He was trapped. Ethan swallowed hard, trying to stay calm. The air was thin, mixed with the faint chemical taste of the alien dust. His lungs already burned from the collapse. He needed to find another way out. Fast, he remembered the map in his head. There was an old maintenance shaft somewhere ahead, unused for years. If he could reach it, maybe it would lead to another exit. He tightened the straps of his tool. Baggin started forward. The tunnel grew narrower. Every step echoed too loudly, as if the dark was listening. Pieces of stone still fell from above, clinking against the ground. He passed abandoned mining carts and broken pipes. The silence after the quake was heavy and strange, like the world was holding its breath. Then he heard it, a sound that didn't belong to the mine. It was faint at first, a soft, steady humming, not the hum of machines, not the whistle of air through cracks. This was a voice. Ethan stopped, turning his head. The humming came from somewhere deeper in the tunnels. It rose and fell in slow, calm waves. It was almost like a lullaby. The sound was warm, human-like. But not human. He hesitated. The smart thing would be to head for the maintenance shaft. But the sound pulled at him, in a place this silent and dangerous. Any sign of life, even strange life, was something. Maybe another worker was trapped like him. Maybe they knew a way out. Ethan followed. The tunnel twisted left, then right. The walls here were different, smoother, carved long ago by hands, not machines. Faint symbols glowed on the stone, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. He felt a chill. Though the air here was warmer, the humming grew clearer, closer. He stepped into a wide cavern. The ceiling was lost in shadows. Pools of glowing liquid reflected the dim light. And there, in the center, was a figure, tall, slender, skin faintly glowing like soft silver in the dark. Her eyes were large and deep, reflecting the light of the pools. She was sitting on a smooth stone, her hands resting on her knees. The humming came from her lips, a tune both strange and beautiful. When she saw him, she stopped. They stared at each other for a long moment. Ethan's heart pounded. She was unlike any of the alien miners he'd seen before. Her face was calm but unreadable. Slowly she stood, moving with a grace that made no sound. "You are human," she said in broken English, her voice soft and low. It wasn't a question. Ethan took a step forward, unsure whether to be afraid or relieved. "Yeah, I'm trapped," he said, coughing. The woman tilted her head, studying him. Her eyes seemed to see not just his face, but something deeper. She turned, picked up a crystal cup from the stone beside her. Inside was a warm, creamy liquid that glowed faintly. She held it out to him. "Drink," she said. Ethan frowned. "What is it?" Her lips curved just slightly. "Life." He looked at the cup, then at her. The air was still thick with dust, his chest tight. He didn't know if she was saving him or something else, but his vision was blurring, and the humming was still in his ears. Slowly, he reached out his hand. Ethan's fingers closed around the crystal cup. It was warm in his hands, almost alive. The liquid inside shimmered faintly, the glow shifting like moonlight on water. He hesitated, breathing in its faint, sweet scent. His lungs ached, his ribs felt heavy. Finally, he took a sip. It was nothing like he expected. Not bitter, not strange. It was smooth, soft, almost like honey mixed with fresh milk. Warmth spread through his chest, filling every breath. The pain in his lungs eased, his head cleared. He could feel the strength returning to his arms and legs. It was like sunlight was moving through his veins. The woman watched him quietly. Her large eyes reflected the glow from the pools. She tilted her head slightly, as if listening to something far away. When he lowered the cup, she stepped forward. "You breathe better now," she said, her words careful. "Yes," Ethan replied, still unsure if he should thank her or ask what she had just given him. "What is this drink?" She touched her chest, then gestured to the cup. "It is mine," she said simply. Ethan blinked. "Yours?" She nodded. Her skin glowed faintly brighter. The meaning hit him, and his breath caught. "This is your milk?" he asked. She didn't flinch. "Yes," she said. "My people give life this way when air is poison." Ethan looked down at the cup again, suddenly aware of its weight. This was no ordinary drink. Somewhere deep inside, an instinct told him this was not only food, it was a bond, a connection she had chosen to make with him. She set her hands together in front of her. "My name is Sarai," she said slowly, as though each word carried meaning beyond sound. "I live in the deep places where others do not walk." Her gaze grew sharper. "You are not safe here, human." Ethan glanced around the glowing cavern. "Safe? From what?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. "There are tunnels you must not go," she said, her voice lower now. "Old ones live there, older than my people, older than your son." The way she said "old ones" sent a shiver through him. It wasn't just fear in her voice. It was respect, and something darker. Ethan tried to lighten his tone. "Well, I just need to find a way back to the surface." Sarai shook her head slowly. "Surface is far," she said, "and the way is not straight." For a moment, neither spoke. Only the sound of the glowing pools rippling quietly. Ethan noticed faint marks on the cavern walls, spirals, symbols, and strange figures etched deep into the stone. Some looked like creatures with too many arms. Some looked like humans with their faces hidden. Sarai moved to a small opening on the far side of the cavern. "Come," she said. "If you stay here, the quake dust will find you." Ethan followed, though every instinct told him not to trust too easily. Her steps made no sound. She carried no light. Yet the path ahead glowed faintly, as if answering her presence. After a short walk through a narrow, smooth-walled tunnel, they entered another chamber, smaller but warmer. The walls here were lined with soft, silk-like strands that glowed a gentle gold. Sarai gestured for him to sit. "This place will keep you warm," she said. Ethan dropped his tool bag and sat against the wall. The strange threads pulsed gently. Like breathing, he looked at her again. She was studying him, as if measuring his strength. Finally, she spoke. "You must drink again soon," she said, "or your body will weaken." Ethan frowned. "Wait, you mean I can't stop?" Sarai met his eyes. "Once you start, you must continue until you leave these depths. Or until they take you." "They?" he asked, but Sarai did not answer. Instead, she turned her gaze toward the dark tunnel beyond. Her glowing eyes narrowed. Something had moved in the distance. A sound like a slow, heavy step, Ethan felt. The hairs on his neck rise. Whatever lived in these tunnels had just learned he was here. Ethan didn't sleep much. The soft golden threads on the wall kept the chamber dimly glowing, but the warmth didn't quiet his thoughts. He kept hearing it, that slow, heavy step from the tunnel beyond, like something walking without hurry. Because it never needed to, Sarai sat cross-legged on the other side of the room, her eyes closed, breathing slow. She didn't seem afraid, and that made him uneasy when she finally spoke. It was without opening her eyes. "You think of the steps," she said. Ethan almost jumped. "You heard them too?" "I always hear them," she replied. "They are part of the deep." He hesitated. "Are they dangerous?" Sarai opened her eyes and gave him a look that was almost pity. "Everything here is dangerous, even me," before he could answer. She reached into a woven pouch beside her and pulled out another crystal cup, the same faintly glowing, creamy. Liquid swirled inside. "You must drink again," she said. Ethan shook his head. "I feel fine right now." She placed the cup on the stone between them. "You will not have for long." Her tone was calm, but her words felt like a warning. Ethan remembered the first sip, the sudden rush of strength, the clearing of his lungs. It had felt almost too good. "What happens if I don't?" he asked. Sarah's gaze held his. "You weaken faster than you can heal, and the deep will claim you." He stared at the cup. It wasn't hunger he felt, it was need. His mouth was dry, his chest already heavier than before. It was as if his body remembered the warmth from the last drink and demanded it again. With a quiet curse, he picked up the cup and drank. This time, the effect was stronger. Not only did the pain fade, but every sound in the chamber sharpened. He could hear the soft hum of the glowing threads, the faint drip of water far down the tunnel, even the slow beat of his own heart. His vision brightened. Every detail of Sarah's face seemed clearer. The faint lines of silver across her skin, the strange depth of her eyes. It was intoxicating. Sarah leaned closer. "This milk feeds you in many ways," she said softly. "It heals wounds, strengthens the body, and gives your senses more than nature allowed." Ethan frowned. "That sounds useful." She tilted her head. "It is, but only while you keep drinking, human." There was something in her tone, not threat, not comfort, but something between. Ethan set the cup down slowly. "Why help me?" Sarai didn't answer right away. Instead, she stood and walked toward the tunnel, her steps silent. She looked back over her shoulder. "Because the old one has noticed you." The words hung in the air like ice. Ethan rose to his feet. "What old one?" Sarai looked down the dark passage, her eyes glowing faintly. "It sleeps for long seasons," she whispered. "But when it wakes, it calls for those who do not belong here, and it does not let them leave." Ethan's mind raced. He wanted to think she was exaggerating, but the memory of that slow, heavy step was too real. "Then we find the way out now," he said firmly. Sarai turned toward him fully. "There is a way, but it passes close to its lair." For the first time, he saw something in her face, not fear, but a deep, careful respect, as if the old one was not just a threat, but something sacred. Ethan felt his skin prickle. If this creature was hunting him, then every moment they waited made things worse. Sarai stepped closer and placed a hand lightly on his chest. "You will follow me, and you will drink when I tell you," she said, "or you will not make it even halfway." Her touch was warm, but her eyes were cold. Ethan nodded, unsure if she was his guide or his jailer somewhere far below, deep in the tunnels. That slow step came again, closer this time. The next morning, if there was such a thing this deep, began without sunlight. Ethan woke to find Sarai already standing at the mouth of the chamber, her head turned toward the tunnels. Her silver skin caught the glow of the threads on the wall, making her look like a statue carved from light. "We move now," she said. Ethan grabbed his tool bag and followed. She didn't take the same path they had used before. Instead, she led him down a sloping tunnel where the walls were smooth, black and cold to the touch. The air changed, heavier, carrying a faint smell like burnt metal. They walked in silence for a long time. The glow from the walls grew dimmer until it almost disappeared. Ethan's lamp was the only light, and even that felt like it was being swallowed by the dark. Finally, Sarai stopped. Ahead, the tunnel split in two. She pointed to the left. "This way is safe," she said. "Longer, but safe." Then she pointed to the right. "This way is not safe. It passes the lair of the old one." Ethan frowned. "Then we go left," he said quickly. Sarai shook her head. "The safe way is broken." Quate closed it. Her eyes locked on his. "We must go through the forbidden's path." The words settled heavy in his chest. "Then what's the plan?" She looked toward the right tunnel. "We move quietly. Do not speak, and do not look too long at what you see." Ethan's grip on his lamp tightened. "What does that mean?" She didn't answer. Instead, she took a slow breath and started walking. The right-hand tunnel was colder. The walls here were covered in faint scratches, as if something enormous had dragged its claws across the stone. Sometimes the marks were deep, cutting into the rock like it was soft clay. The air carried a deep vibration, not sound exactly, but a pressure that pressed against his chest. It made his heart feel heavier, his steps slower. They passed a wide opening on the left. Ethan's eyes flicked toward it before he remembered. Her warning, he only caught a glimpse, but it was enough. A massive shape moved in the darkness, its outline shifting like smoke. Eyes, too many to count, glimmered faintly, all turning toward him. He felt the air thicken. His lamp's light dim. Sarai's hand gripped his arm hard. "Do not look," she whispered sharply, pulling him forward. The tunnel narrowed again. Ethan's breath was fast now, every instinct screaming to run. But Sarai's steady pace forced him to move slowly. The ground beneath them was no longer stone. It felt almost like hardened bone. The faint burnt metal smell was stronger here, mixed with something sweet and rotten. Then came the sound, not the slow, heavy step he had heard before. This was a dragging, scraping noise, like something enormous pulling itself forward. It was getting closer. Sarai stopped, her eyes closed. She whispered something in her own language, the words sharp and rhythmic. The sound faded, as if whatever it was had turned away. Ethan's skin crawled. "What was that?" he whispered. Sarai's eyes opened, and there was no softness in them now. "That was the old one's shadow," she said. "If the shadow touches you, the body follows." They moved faster now. The tunnel began to slope upward. Ethan felt the air shift, fresher, with a faint trace of water. But before he could feel relief, Sarai stopped again. Her gaze was fixed on the floor ahead. The stone was cracked in a perfect circle. From the center, thin streams of black liquid ran outward like veins. Sarah's voice was almost a hiss. "This is its feeding ground." Ethan's mouth went dry. "And we're standing here, why?" "Because we must cross," she said. Her eyes met his, quickly before it smells. "You!" They crossed the feeding ground fast. Ethan's boots splashed in the thin streams of black liquid, each drop colder than ice. The air felt thicker here, as if the darkness itself was trying to hold them in place. When they reached the other side, Sarai didn't stop. She led him into a narrow tunnel that twisted sharply upward. The smell of the old one faded, replaced by damp stone and the faint trickle of water. Ethan's shoulders loosened slightly, but his mind didn't. Too much about Sarai didn't add up. How she had found him, why she kept giving him her milk, and why she seemed to know exactly where the old one would be. After a long climb, they reached another cavern. This one was lit by hundreds of crystal shards, growing from the walls like frozen lightning. The reflections painted Sarai's skin in shifting colors, blue, red, silver. She moved to the center of the chamber and knelt on one knee. Her head bowed. Ethan stopped. "What are you doing?" Her voice was low, almost like she was speaking to someone who wasn't there. "I give word that I bring him," she said. Ethan's stomach tightened. "Bring me? To who?" A sound rolled through the cavern, not a voice exactly, but a deep vibration that made the crystal shards hum. It spoke in a language Ethan didn't understand, a sound like stone grinding against stone, but in the middle of it, He heard his own name clear. Human. Ethan Cole. His heart pounded. He took a step back. Who was that? He demanded. Sarai lifted her head slowly, her eyes glowing brighter than he'd ever seen. It is the one who rules the deep, she said calmly. It told me to keep you alive. Ethan stared at her. Keep me alive? For what? She rose to her feet and walked toward him. Your kind burns fast, human, she said. Your bodies make strong heat, strong life. The old one feeds best when the prey is full of it. The pieces fell into place. The milk that made him stronger, the way it sharpened his senses. It wasn't just to keep him alive. It was to prepare him. His skin went cold. You've been fattening me, he said quietly. Sarai didn't flinch. It is the way of the deep, she said. I do what I am told. Her eyes softened slightly. But you are not like the others I have brought. Ethan stepped back until his shoulders touched the cold wall. So what happens now? You deliver me? Sarai tilted her head. That depends, she said. The old one has called, but I have not yet answered. The crystals hummed again. Louder this time. The vibration was moving closer. Ethan's voice was sharp. Then, answer now. Are you going to help me get out, or are you going to feed me to that thing? For the first time, Sarai didn't answer right away. Her glowing eyes flicked toward the tunnel they had come from. The hum of the crystals rose to a painful pitch. She stepped closer to him. If you want to live, she whispered, you must do exactly what I say, and you must drink again. Ethan's pulse hammered in his ears. Was this the voice of his only chance? Or his executioner? Asterisk. The crystals stopped humming. The cavern went silent. Too silent. Sarai's head tilted. Her silver skin seemed to dim, as if she was pulling her glow inward. It is moving, she whispered. Ethan's gut tightened. Old one? Her eyes locked on his. Yes, it hunts now. The air shifted. It wasn't just colder. It felt heavier, pressing against Ethan's skin like deep water. Somewhere in the tunnels, a sound began. A low, dragging scrape followed by a slow thud. The rhythm was patient. The sound of something that didn't need to hurry because nothing escaped it. Sarai turned sharply. Follow, no light, she said. Ethan flicked off his lamp, and darkness swallowed them whole. The only glow came from the faint lines on Sarai's skin. She moved quickly but without sound. Her bare feet found every foothold perfectly. Ethan followed as best he could. His boots scraped rock. Every noise felt too loud. The dragging sound grew louder. Now he could hear it behind them, like stone fingers clawing at the floor. They reached a steep drop. Sarai didn't hesitate. She slid down the rock face and landed silently. Ethan followed, slipping and nearly falling. The moment his boots hit the ground, a vibration in the air spiked. It was close, too close. A deep, slow breath filled the tunnel. It wasn't human. It was the sound of something ancient inhaling the scent of its prey. Ethan's stomach turned. He realized it was smelling him. Sarai grabbed his arm and shoved a crystal cup into his hand. Drink, she ordered. Now? Her eyes flashed. If you want your legs to keep moving. Yes, he drank without thinking. The warmth hit him instantly. The burning in his muscles faded, replaced by a rush of energy. The air tasted sharper. His heartbeat steadied. But he also noticed something horrifying. The dragging sound behind them quickened. As if the milk scent had grown stronger, Sarai pulled him forward into a side tunnel. This passage was so narrow, Ethan's shoulders brushed the walls. The sound of pursuit filled it like water in a pipe. The slow scrape was gone now, replaced by a wet, sliding movement. Whatever it was no longer walking. The tunnel opened into a cavern lit by a single pool of glowing green water. Mist rose from it, swirling like smoke. Sarai stopped suddenly. Do not touch the water, she warned. It will call it faster. Ethan's eyes darted around for another exit. He saw none, only the black tunnel behind them. The sound was louder now, a steady, horrible wetness like meat dragging over stone. Something massive shifted in the darkness. Sarai stepped into the mist. "It will not cross the pool," she said quickly. "But it will wait." Ethan's heart pounded. "How long?" Her gaze was steady. "Until you are too weak to run." The realization hit him. They weren't escaping tonight. They were only running in circles, while the old one closed the distance. The mist curled around Ethan's boots. It felt cold at first, then almost warm like breath on his skin. He stepped back from the green pool, watching the dark tunnel behind them. The sound had stopped. That was worse than hearing it. Sarai stood still, listening. Her eyes glowed faintly through the fog. "It waits," she said. Ethan swallowed hard. "You said it won't cross the pool," she nodded slowly. "It will not, but it will not leave either." The silence pressed on him. The air in this cavern was thicker, carrying the faint, sweet smell of her milk. He realized the old one didn't need to chase him anymore. He was trapped here, in a cage without walls. Sarai walked to the far side of the pool, where a thin ledge of rock dipped toward a rushing black river below. Mist rose from the water's edge, swallowing the drop in darkness. "This is the other way," she said. Ethan joined her and looked down. The river moved fast, slamming against jagged rocks. One wrong move and he'd be broken before the current carried him away. "That's not a way," he said. "It is," Sarai replied softly, "for those who choose not to be taken." Ethan stepped back, his mind spinning. "This isn't a choice, it's suicide." Her gaze didn't waver. "Not always. Some survive. Some are carried far enough to find the surface." "And if I stay?" he asked. Her expression changed, something between sadness and hunger. "You will live." "For a time," she said. "The old one will keep you alive until you burn brightest, and then it will take you." Ethan's chest tightened. "And you? Where will you be?" She stepped closer, her silver glow brushing his skin. "I will be here, as I have always been," she said. "I bring life, and I bring it to the deep." The truth in her voice was worse than any threat. She didn't hate him. She didn't want to hurt him. She was simply part of the machine that had always fed the old one. He stared at the black river, feeling the cold spray on his face. His heartbeat pounded like war drums in his ears. Behind them, from the dark tunnel, came a sound, not dragging now, but a deep, slow inhale. The old one was close enough to breathe him in. The mist rippled across the pool as if something huge had shifted in the shadows beyond it. Sarai's voice cut through the silence. "Decide, human," she said. "Flow or burn." Ethan's jaw tightened. He looked at the pool, the river, then back toward the tunnel. Every instinct screamed at him that there was no going back. The air grew heavier. The darkness behind the pool stirred. Ethan took a single step forward, toward his choice.